Hello and welcome to another episode of Simon Says, Let's Talk Business on Business RadioX. This is your host, Al Simon, with Sandler Training by Simon Inc. We do all things sales and sales management. But this show is mostly about our guests, and I'm excited today because we're going to spotlight a tremendous professional. So you're going to want to have a pad of paper, a pen ready to go. Take some notes because you're going to hear some great stuff today. So pumped. We've got a great guest today, Kara Brown. She is the owner. Well, you say you're the Chief Revenue Officer. I love that. CRO, Chief Revenue Officer of LeadCoverage. Kara, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Excited about this. Exciting times we're in, interesting times we're in, and we'll get into that as well. But sales, marketing, lead gen, all favorite topics of mine, and that show must go on, huh? Got
For
it.
sure.
Absolutely. So, Kara, we're going to get into your company and what you do and how you're valuable so people can contact you and get great things to happen in their world. But let's start out by just giving us, how'd you get from wherever to here? How'd you get here?
How did I get on Al Simon's show?
Yes.
In the pandemic.
How did that
in
happen?
Atlanta. I love it. I'll take you all the way back to 2006. I was very fortunate. I was one of the first 15 or 20 hires at a company called Echo Global Logistics. Very sexy. One of the first tech-enabled freight brokers. That company grew 3,000% in 3 years.
Whoa.
And I got to work on the IPO. Yeah, it was wild. It was super great.
What a ride.
So, my boss came over one day and he said, "Hey, we're going to go public. Here's the banker's business card. Can you help us?" And I was like, "Sure. Let's do it. Awesome. Let's go, boss." So that was an amazing experience. And the gentleman that started Echo Global Logistics also happened to start Groupon.
Oh,
and I
okay.
just happened to sit next to the guy that was starting it. And he came over and he's like, "Hey, can you send this email for us for this coupon company?" So I literally sent the first Groupon email, which was super cool. I was never W-2'd. I take no credit, but it's a really fun story. So from my 8 days at Echo in the 600 West Chicago sort of entrepreneurial energy of Chicago in the early 2000s, I ended up in Nashville to do another IPO. Long story short, it didn't work. Moved back to Chicago, popped out kids, and popped out some kids, and said to my nuclear engineer fitness model husband, who's another laugh line for you. He said, he's a trooper, I like him a lot. "Hey, what are we going to do next?" And he's like, "I think you should probably start your own shop."
Wow.
So I did in Chicago, went back to get an MBA, as all type A moms do, sort of for Target pin money. I had 2 kids in my house in my pajamas. Ended up getting a full-time gig here in Atlanta, moved here, fell in love with the city, never leaving.
Great city.
And so when I exited that job, it's like, what do you do next? At the same time, someone had told me less than 2% of female founders will ever break $1 million in revenue.
What?
And I was like, yeah, it's 1.7%. It's a true story. It's an American Express number. They come out with a number every year. And it's less than 2%. It's 1.7% of female founders will break $1 million in revenue.
My
and
goodness.
I was like, well, that's not that hard. Hold my beer. Let's go do that. So we did.
Throw down the gauntlet. I can do that.
I can do that. Like, let's go, right? Goal-oriented. So did that in about less than 2 years. Took us about a year and a half, between 10 and 16 months, depending on how it's ARR or not, right?
Yes.
And so I did it pretty quickly, and EO is a huge part of that. You and I met through the Entrepreneur Organization. Grateful for your support of us, by the way.
Yes.
And someone said, "Hey, this is the new goal." And so I was like, cool, let's do it. Let's hit the goal. And so we are here in Atlanta, and we do B2B lead gen only. So we don't do e-commerce. We're not in retail. We don't do like big, heavy social media pushes, things like that. We're hyper focused on B2B. And because of my supply chain background, we spend a lot of time in supply chain, heavy industrial, and technology.
Okay.
So that's where the LeadCoverage connection comes in from.
Okay. So and so what does the lead gen entail? What exact services do you offer?
Yeah. So there are 6 lead gen strategies, and that's about it. Unfortunately, now that we can't go to trade shows or see people in person, there's really 4 lead gen strategies.
Okay.
So we walk our clients through it. It's pretty simple. We start with technology. We make sure that they understand what their tech stack looks like. This is another cool stat. The average B2B marketing technology stack is 17 deep. So that's your website, Google Analytics, your CRM, your marketing automation platform, your analysis platform, how you do your ad, like all those pieces have a technology associated. And so even though we think of B2B as like less marketing techy than like a Coca-Cola, there are serious marketing tech stacks out there. And so we're sort of the MarTech stack expert.
17 levels, 17 layers deep, right? That's what you said?
17 pieces of technology in the average MarTech stack.
What's your favorite one?
HubSpot.
Now, if you want to think about it a minute.
I know, right? Sorry. It's our favorite tool. There are an average of about 7,000 new MarTech tools that come out every year. Demand Base, one of the biggest in the space, says that by 2025 there will be 30,000 MarTech tools to choose from. So,
30,000.
30,000. So you can like hit a rock and hit a cold email platform, right?
Yeah.
Throw a rock, hit a cold email founder. I mean, the democratization of these tools since the mid 2000s has enabled individuals to create these amazing companies and amazing tools. Like we have one right here in town, SalesLoft.
Yes.
The Exact Target, Pardot, Story. Like those are amazing tools, but those are big companies. There are so many small competitors coming to nip at the heels of these guys. You can do this stuff for really inexpensive. We like HubSpot because it's easy to use, and the CRM piece of a MarTech stack is the center of the world.
Yes.
You know this. Like, if your CRM isn't capable of doing what you want it to do, or it's set up incorrectly, or you can't change it because you need to hire a developer to make changes, Salesforce, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're dead in the water. You can't make if you can't make changes to your CRM on the fly, it's going to be too expensive for you to be effective at what you need to do, which is build a pipe and close deals.
Yes.
So we really like HubSpot. We're a HubSpot Platinum partner. We've gone all in on the HubSpot platform. We're tech agnostic, as in I'm a former Salesforce admin, so I can get down and dirty if you need me to on their systems. But we really like the flexibility that a tool like HubSpot allows us to execute on behalf of multiple clients. So, there are lots of tools out there like the Luxos of the world that are hyper specific to one industry, and those are great. But being able to use a tool with such a robust API allows us to connect HubSpot to a Luxo or a Membrane or whatever else we need to connect.
But you're getting good metrics out of that, and that helps the sales department, right?
Yeah, marketing and sales. So one of the things that we believe in wholeheartedly at the organization is that marketing and sales are one. They are one team. And marketing's whole job, and I'm a marketer, so I can say this, marketing's whole job is to enable the close. That's it. And so if marketing doesn't hold a bag and marketing doesn't understand the value of what they're doing to the sales team, not just to the end user, but to the sales team, you're just going to be fighting an uphill battle most of the time. So we spend a lot of time with marketing and sales organizations helping you get aligned.
I love how you said that. The marketing's job is to enable the close of the deal. Awesome. Set them up. Yeah, it's one team.
Knock them down.
Yeah. So it's interesting because, we do skill building and processes for sales for our clients. And one of the first things I ask when I get a new client is, okay, tell me about your marketing tools. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your lead gen. Tell me about how you get inbound leads. Tell me how you develop outgoing leads. How do you do it? Let me ask you a question, Kara, because there's this new kind of thing. I mean, in the past in sales, there's been hunters, people that go after new business. There's been farmers, people that are account managers and grow it and keep existing business. And lately, there's this new thing that we're calling fishermen. And I think it's right down your alley because fishermen are people who know how to put bait in the water and then handle the nibble, right, and pull that fish in. And that's what you're talking about, isn't it? Because you're talking about using tools to get people engaged with the sales professional.
Yeah. Al, I'm so excited. Like, you just turned me on. Okay.
Yeah.
So we believe that the lead gen process is three things. Share good news, track who's interested, follow up. That's pretty much it. And what you just said about fishermen is entirely true.
That's the share good news, right? Yeah, that's the bait. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the bait. Share good news.
Yeah.
Track who's interested, which is generally something marketing is bad at. Right?
Really? Why do you say that?
Like math, normally a corporate marketer's thing, right? So if you share the good news, make sure you can track who's interested, and then follow up. Super simple. Can I tell you how we pivoted this whole thing in the last 15 weeks and how excited I am?
Yes, tell us.
So 15 weeks ago, my brother called mid-March and he's like, "Hey, I just got laid off." And I was like, "I'm so surprised, little brother. You sell fancy chin implants. I can't imagine." He's like, "Okay, would you just, big sister, give me a break, give me a job."
Get out of my face. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, "Don't, come on, like don't grind it in," right? So he's like, I was like, "Yeah, would you want to just bang the phones for our clients?" Like, so we deliver leads to clients, and then normally their sales team is responsible for taking it the rest of the way. I was like, let's just try it, right? Let's see if we get you on the phone. Can we also deliver the meeting? Can we deliver the first call? Can you qualify for these clients? So we put him on the phone and he knocked it out of the park.
Does he?
Killed it. So we have now put almost 26 laid off sales reps back to work.
Kara, that is awesome. That is so awesome.
I'm so excited. It's a win-win-win, right? So our clients, and everyone's at home now, right?
Yes.
So everyone's at home, so they're picking up the phone. We're seeing connections up almost 30% over last year. So phones are being picked up. People 30%. Are at their desk. So our clients win because we're talking to their prospects. We are employing these folks that are laid off, and they're laid off. These are mid-career sales reps laid off from big companies, right?
Yes.
So these are 22-year-olds we have to tie to a chair, right? These are folks that know what they're doing. And then it's a win for us because we get to deliver more value than just the lead gen to our clients. And being in the actual revenue cycle has just blown everyone's mind. It's been such a win, Al. I'm so proud of it.
You know, we all need good news during this pandemic. And I was going to ask you how the pandemic affected your business, but you already given us two clues. One is connections are way up, and you got people that know what they're doing making the calls. The other one is you said you're using really 4 avenues these days and not 6. What are the other 4?
So we think about them as social media, email, phone, and then sort of the like digital play, right? So the top of funnel play. So PPC, media, that kind of stuff. We think about PR as the tip of the spear. And I know like sales guys are always like, you say the word PR and they just like leave the room, right? They go somewhere else. So hear me out. I'll give you an example. So we have a client, they sell robots and software for warehouses. Very sexy. Like I said, we're in supply chain. So very sexy, super long sales cycle, super high LTV. We're talking $3 to $10 million per deal, right? So we don't do really long sales. So we share good news. This particular good news was, this is how we're winning for directors of the supply chain for retail. We did it in a press release. We did it in the New York Times. And then we did it in a 3-series webinar called Facing the Board. And so what we did is we said, if I'm the VP of supply chain at Sephora, et cetera, Target, whatever, I'm terrified. I have to go talk to my board of directors about how I'm going to save our supply chain for 2021. So we made the webinar an answer to their internal problem, right? We love the Donald Miller story brand process, and he says customers buy solutions to internal problems. We had 150 people show up, 155 people show up or register for the first webinar after the PR push. These are super high level prospects. And then we had one of our people bang the phones post webinar to set meetings, and we set meetings with 18 people in 2 days.
My goodness.
At an LTV of, average of $6 million a pop. So it works. Like, it works. It takes time, energy, and attention, which a lot of times is not a salesperson's strength, right? Like, I'm a salesperson. I can own that.
Are you saying we're all impatient in sales?
I don't know what you're talking about. Detail oriented?
Not sure what you're. I'm not. Yeah. But you know what I love about what you said there was the way you started. You started from what is that particular person in that particular company thinking about. That's where you started. You didn't start from, hey, I got this great little tool here. I want to find a way to push it on people. You started from the other end, from thinking of the actual person and what are they going to need and how can you help them?
We spend a lot of time on that with customers, and I think that's where marketing and sales, the combination of the two, the fisherman, is super important.
Yes.
Right. So we do the Donald Miller story build process. We base our business on 2 books. The first is the Donald Miller process, and the second is Aaron Ross's Impossible to Inevitable. Right.
Okay.
So when we start an engagement with a new client, we send them these 2 books. Sometimes they read them, sometimes they don't. But the Donald Miller process goes through 7 questions. And the questions are, who is your hero, your customer? What is their problem, internal, external? How do you solve their problems? And then it's, how are you empathetic to their problem? How are you the authority to the problem? And what are the philosophical things that they should not have to be challenged with once they have your solution? So if you're the guide, what are the philosophical changes? So you, Al, should not have to worry about lead gen when you hire LeadCoverage, right? You should not have to worry about pipeline. So that's an sort of our example.
Yes.
And we spend a lot of time on this because you're entirely right. With a lot of clients, and you see it everywhere. You see it on LinkedIn, you see it on the news, right? Of people pounding their own chest and not listening to your customer needs to buy something to an internal problem, right? So if my internal problem is I'm going to get fired if I don't have pipe for 2020, and I'm solving the problem of pipe for 2020, I'm a lot more likely to close that deal than I have a CRM.
Oh my goodness, this is so good. I have some clients who shall go unnamed. Yes, who they have. Let's say they have a product line of say 5 or 6 different products, and 1 or 2 of them are not selling. And so they tell the sales team to push this one or push that one. Make deals or find ways to discount and push it. And I'm thinking, no, you're sleazy, you're slimy. Don't do that. That's not what professionals do. You don't push products on people. You solve problems for people. Yeah. This is so cool.
And when you do it, it works super well. I mean, so we have a very happy customer because we're doing exactly that, right? Where they came to us because they needed pipe for the end of 2020 and 2021.
Yes.
And put this engine to work. And now the president of the company said, I want you to come deliver this to the board. Like, I want you to show them how this is working because this is incredible. Those are the moments, right? We made our client, who's the CMO, we make her look so good. She hired us, right? They had a problem. They needed a solution. They hired the right team, and everybody's happy.
Boom, there you go.
If you sell a car or office furniture or anything, it's the same idea, right? How do I delight this customer and solve their internal problem?
Well, and you said something else that was very key too a second ago. You said people need pipe for end of 2020 and into 2021, and so many companies and different industries are affected worse than others by COVID. The ones that are really struggling, but they have the wherewithal to eventually see through. But if they wait to build that pipeline, they're going to have a longer downtime. They've got to be building that pipeline now. People need you now, Kara. They need you now.
I couldn't agree with you more. Yes, people need me. But more importantly, if you don't hire me, it's fine. Go get the pipe now. We have been, since we went home on March 15th, every LinkedIn post I've been posting is someone is capturing market share right now.
That's right.
Someone.
Business is being done. Yes.
Who's going to capture it? And if it's not you, if you don't have pipe, if you're not having conversations about how to solve problems in 2021 with your customers today or future customers, they're going to solve that problem with someone else.
Yes.
And I was on a call yesterday with a bunch of other service owners through an EO network. And 3 times on this call, I remember writing it down 3 times. Someone said, "This is not the time for biz dev." They said, "Does anyone want to share?" At the end of the call, and both of my hands went up, and I was like, "You guys, your hair should be on fire building pipe. You should." Yes. You may not close, right? CapEx budgets are wrapped up right now. People don't know what's going to happen. Things are super tight, but when the floodgates open, someone is going to capture that market share.
Better be ready.
You've got to be ready, and you have to be ready with the pipe. You can't start the conversation in January about 2021.
Exactly.
Start the conversation today about 2021.
I'm wondering if maybe they're thinking that selling is not empathetic, and people have this notion that the two are mutually exclusive, and they're not. Professional selling is very empathetic, like you were saying. It's really about solving their issues for them. You can be empathetic, make sure they're healthy and well and safe, but let's get down and let's fix things. Let's get ready. Let's do business. Let's not sit around in our pajamas going, "Boy, I wish this COVID thing wasn't happening."
Yeah, it drives me crazy when I hear people say that. It just, to me, so actually I was talking to a friend of mine in January, and I said, I'm waiting for the recession that's coming. I'm excited about the recession. He's like, what is wrong with you? Why would you be excited about the recession? I said, well, number one, talent is really expensive right now and really hard to get. And I can't grow as a service provider unless I have great talent. So I'm just going to go scoop up all the best talent that I can find when the recession hits. And I said, I'm really well capitalized for this. Like, I've been planning for this recession. And we know how to build pipe, right?
That's right.
Our team knows that we're doing it for other people. We know how to build our own pipe. And I knew that as soon as the recession hit, I could go out and build pipe that my competitors wouldn't be building. Yeah. And I could scoop up all this great talent. So I am not at all happy that it came with a pandemic. Please let me share that. Like, I am not happy that the recession came with the death of so many people. That is not at all what I was hoping for. But a little baby recession correction is sort of what we were planning for, to be able to do the things that we knew we could do in a recession.
Yes, and smart business people are going to take advantage of it. So this is Al Simon with Simon Says. Let's talk business on Business RadioX. Our guest today, Kara Brown with LeadCoverage, having a great conversation. Kara, I want to ask you a question about something a little bit different than what we're about, because I know that you work a lot with women in sales, and you've got something that you call Close Her. What is that all about?
Yeah, isn't that great? Close Her.
Close Her.
I love it. So my dear friend, Jordan Arrighetti, and I, she is one of the top reps at Sales Loft, and she's just a total dynamite. She and her husband are just amazing people. She and I started a group called Close Her in 2017, and it's for women in sales. So she looked around Sales Loft for a woman to be her mentor, her sales mentor, and there physically wasn't one. And she reached out on LinkedIn and she said, I'm looking for a couple of women sales mentors. And I said, let's do this. Let's make this. And so we've had, I think, a dozen up until COVID meetings. We've had networking events and speakers, and just gotten almost 350 women on our list that are interested in sales, growing their sales careers, listening to women leaders in sales. It's amazing. It's super great.
Great. Well, I've got a couple names for you. They might already be on your list, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Awesome. Kara, what's the most important factor in your success?
Yeah. So being I think the question you're asking is like the entrepreneur sort of sales success. I'm also a woman in sales. There aren't that
There's
many
that,
of them.
yeah.
So
but we all know entrepreneurs think different than corporate types, right? I mean, they do. Yeah.
Nobody wishes for a recession. That's sort of weird. It's a random thing to think about. But I think the most important thing has been the community that I've been able to surround myself with.
Yes.
So I think when I got to Atlanta and I started to close business, we closed about $500,000 in work, and I was just meeting every person I could. I was new to the city. I wanted to meet every person I could meet. And someone said to me, you need to get into the entrepreneur organization. And then we found Launchpad 2X, which is rocket fuel for female entrepreneurs, run by Bernie Dixon, which has been incredible. I'm on the board now. 25% of Launchpad graduates will break $1 million in revenue, and it's a female incubator. And then we were a member of WE, which is the Women's Entrepreneurship Initiative run by the City of Atlanta. So surrounded myself with as many smart people as I could. Not all women, there are men in EO, but
there's some smart men in EO.
A couple guys.
Yeah, once here and there.
The female contingency of the Atlanta chapter, I just found out today, is up to almost 35%, which is huge.
That's great.
A ton of women entrepreneurs in Atlanta. And the community I've been able to surround myself with has been so helpful. So everything from who is the attorney I should use for this, to does anyone have a good realtor, to I'm freaking out about COVID. I mean, the month of April, I spent listening to podcasts and webinars on the PPP loan and EBIL and how are you going to keep your business afloat, and just relationships with bankers. I mean, the relationships that I've built with that community came in so handy, and like handy feels like not even a strong enough word. They were crucial. They really were. They were crucial to making it through April and knowing that we were going to be okay.
Yes.
Right. I hired a coach. I love my coach. I have 2 coaches, but my business coach came from an EO connection, and he has materially changed my life in the last 3 months. And I know that I'll get more out of that community as I mature as a business person. I'm not quite 40, so I know I have a long way to go, right? and every time I sit down with folks in this community that think like me, I learn something. Funny story. My husband is an engineer, and he's an amazing husband, huge fan of my husband, Eric. And we went to our first EO thing like together. And I went to the bar to get us cocktails, and I ended up having a conversation about EBITDA. And the gentleman I was talking to said, well, you take the EBITDA of the first company and you combine it with the EBITDA of the second company. And so you can get a bigger loan from the bank if you use the combined EBITDA, and like went on and on about this thing. And we walked away from I was like, yeah, okay, cool. We walked away from the bar, and my husband goes, you have found your people. These are your people. Like, who has a conversation about EBITDA at a bar? A bunch of entrepreneurs. Like, these are your people. And I think if you can find your people, whether it's sales people, women in sales, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, find your people.
Plug in.
And it helps so much.
Yes. Plug in, lifelong learners, get great ideas. Yeah, don't live in a vacuum.
All the book recommendations.
Yes.
So many books from my community. Like
so many books, so little time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Kara, do you have I know you're a giving person, and well, EO in general is a giving organization, right? People helping people, and not just each other, but also very community-minded, very, very much nonprofit-minded people. How about you? Do you have a particular give-back goal? I know you're goal-oriented. Do you have a give-back goal?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. It involves my husband again, Eric. So last year, he hooked up with Marshall Mosier, who's also an EO member, with Festigo, and they created an organization to carry a woman who has a degenerative disease up Kilimanjaro.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. So there are 10 guys. They were supposed to go in September, and it's literally canceled until 2021, but it's called Piggyback Ventures. And they're going to carry Cardin up Kilimanjaro, and my husband got to make the harness that she goes in. And I had the most amazing experience. So we practiced going up Kennesaw Mountain, and I have 2 little girls, 6 and 7, and they practice. They have 2 harnesses, and Cardin, the woman that they're carrying, has to go from harness to harness. And so it's sort of a complicated process. You get 2 guys in a harness and like a sling, they put her in. And my 6 and 7-year-old watching my husband help put his invention, because he basically invented this harness for her, to work, was the most awesome sort of moment for me in the last.
I can imagine. I got chills hearing you talk about it.
Actual Superman, right? Like my husband, actual Superman. So in addition to helping all of the women that I can possibly help from an entrepreneur perspective, like I'll have a chat with any possible woman who wants to talk about scaling her business. This is also important to us. So he also then used the same harness to carry a 13-year-old boy up a mountain to get his Boy Scout merit badge.
Oh.
And he's disabled. And so just being able as a family to contribute to other people, having experiences that they wouldn't have before, and having my kids be a part of it has been super cool.
That is very, very special. Very, very special. Well, listeners, I'm sure you've enjoyed Kara as much as I have, and if you're thinking at all about your pipeline and not thinking such great thoughts about your pipeline, you just might want to get a hold of Kara. Kara, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, Kara at LeadCoverage.com. It's Kara, LeadCoverage.com. LeadCoverage.com is a super easy way to find us. You'll see that we are focused on supply chain, heavy industrial, and tech. We have a sister brand called Smith Brown Marketing where we focus on everything except supply chain, heavy industrial, and tech. So
Okay.
healthcare, recruiting, etc.
All right. So everybody, you can reach Kara at leadcoverage.com, the website leadcoverage.com. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been a great conversation.
Thanks, Al. It was super fun.
Yeah, it really is. Once again, Al Simon with Sandler Training by Simon Inc. And the show is called Simon Says. We've all played the game. Simon Says, Let's Talk Business. Kara Brown with LeadCoverage. Excellent. And so as usual, we'll wrap up the show with talking about a question we get from our listeners. If you want to send me a question, send it to al.simon@sandler.com. Give me a question about sales or sales management, and we just might feature it on the air. So today's question is kind of a long question. What is the best way to introduce myself to a prospect in order to segue into how I can be a benefit to them or their organization? Okay, so let me read it again. The best way to introduce myself to a prospect in order to segue into how I can be a benefit to them or their organization. Well, I think Kara gave us some clues on that one a while ago. I mean, you'd be focused on what they're thinking. And how are you going to focus on what they're thinking unless you're asking them questions about what it is that's bugging them? And don't use that, that well-worn phrase, what keeps you up at night. Please don't use that one. Please. I beg you. I always tell my clients, if you ever use a phrase like that, don't tell anybody I trained you, okay? That usually works. All right, well, there's different kinds of venues here in terms of being introduced to somebody. I mean, there's networking, there's LinkedIn, social media, cold calling, digital, all the things that Kara talked about for sure. But the really important thing is to focus on what we call the pain. Focus on the pain. You can use third-party stories to start that conversation. You can say, hey, Kara, when I talk to CROs like yourself in companies a lot like yours, they tell me that some of their biggest challenges include X, Y, and Z. I'm just curious. Are any of those, touching a nerve with you? And then be quiet, right? You've done enough talking. And whoever it is, and so we call that a third-party story because you're not saying, hey, do you have these issues? Or, hey, I know you've got these issues. That's another thing I don't want people to say when they're making sales calls is, I know I can save you money. Well, if you haven't asked any questions, you don't know, right? So, but focus on them, focus on the pain, have good conversations that talk about challenges, and then, if it makes sense for you to help them, you can help them. And that's today's sales tip. And this is Al Simon with Sandler Training by Simon Inc. You can reach me at al.simon@sandler.com. You can reach Kara Brown at kara@leadcoverage.com. And this has been Simon Says, Let's Talk Business on Business RadioX. Kara, great having you here on our show. Wish you the best. Looking forward to working with you. I got a lead for you, by the way, so stand by. There you go. All right. Everybody, good selling.